Hello everyone, I hope you've had a great day so far and you're doing well. For this video we'll be going through a unboxing of the high grade 1 to 144 Gundam Aegis Knight, and this is from Gundam Build Divers Re-Rise, released by Bandai back in 2020. So doing the second Kazumi suit, so the first was the Justice Knight, and here we have the Aegis Knight, which I find a little weird because going back to Seed, Atheron's first suit was the Aegis and then went to the Justice and Infinite Justice, but it still worked out quite well. It was unexpected, so yeah. Still doing the Build Divers Re-Rise thing. So yeah. This was also picked up from Hobby Link Japan, so I have a link to the Aegis Knight and a lot of the other Build Divers and Build Divers Re-Rise kits over at Hobby Link Japan in the description. So here we have the front of the box of the Gundam Aegis Knight, sporting a very nice color palette, similar armaments to what the Justice Knight had, in the sense of a shield and a very sturdy looking lance, but obviously the general mobile suit design has changed since, but because it is also based off the Aegis, it will have a mobile armor mode as well, which is very cool, which does give me a bit of hope that maybe we will see a redo of the Aegis. Time will tell. So bottom of the box, what do we have here? We have some little action poses. So here's a nice shot of the Aegis Knight with the shield and the Lancer. It also does have a beam rapier that it can also use. So it's a very close combat suit. A huge hyper beam sword with a bit of a hyper mode gimmick included. It also has a cruising mobile armor mode, a assault mode, and bits of it can also dock with the core fighter. Actually no, I take that back. It has its own little core fighter type gimmick, so there's a lot of playability with the Aegis Knight. And then there's also the Re-Rising Gundam Combiner mode, which was the Aegis Knight, the Volcalander, Uraven Gundam, and the Wordum Pod. Conceptually, very cool. Some of the execution, well, it wasn't terrible, but you could have done with a bit more streamlining, but I do have the hyper mode of this, oddly enough, so that was, yeah. I also want to talk about that later, mainly that. Side of the box, pretty much the same as the front, as is the other side. I don't know why I still do the side of the boxes these days. And we do have a very nice front and rear shot of the Aegis Knight, a bit of a blurb, and a bit of a blurb about Re-Rise. I will admit that is a very nice rear and front shot. In terms of general size profile, the Aegis Knight seems to have a pretty solid one. It's a very nice colours to boot. So that was the outside of the box, or more to the point, the box lid. There's what's inside. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 bags of runners, and we will have some items in the bottom, which I think also includes the manual for the Re-Rising Gundam. Goes to try, I haven't opened this since I've had it, so this is legitimately my very surprised expression and tone for what is inside the box. So I will open up the bags, take out the runners, and organize those manuals and have a better look at everything that was included. And with everything out of the bag, here we have the manual. So the same artwork that we saw in the front of the box, a line art of the front of the Aegis Knight with a bit more of a blurb if it ever zooms in. Here we go. A bit more information about Kazumi and a bit more some general background information. So front of the manual, back of the manual, bit of a rehash of what we saw around the box. So the mobile armor mode, assault mode, and the various weaponry that is included. And it does refer to the material Gunpla being the Aegis Gundam. And lastly at the bottom we do have the color guide. So we have white, green, red, purple grey, gold, dark silver, dark grey, and green. So a very nice array of colours. In terms of inside the manual, let's see if I can find a page for the runners. Now, there's a fair few runners, so I won't dwell on this too much. Yes, lots of runners to go through. So, in terms of the instructions, so naturally we will start with the actual Aegis Knight itself. So building the body of that and the head, the two arms, which are pretty much done at the exact same time, with the hands, and yeah, basically the hands, separating them into left and right. Similarly, the legs are the same, with just a few things, switching them over to left leg and right leg. And interestingly, that heel is a hand. The more you know. Building the waist. Then again, the Aegis had some very big side skirts, so that too has been recreated. Although they seem to be a lot better scaled. So that was the waist. Some of the gimmicks within the waist, aka the articulation. Building the backpack, which isn't too bad. And then the included base, which is always good. The array of weapons that are included. It did look like one of the runners was a rinse and repeat from the Justice Knight. So over into the first splash page, it does talk about a king mode, which is flipping up a bit of a head crest, attaching a extra clear piece, and the king mode usually pops up when it's doing its fancy giant sword, which I understand it's a model kit. You can't recreate everything that you see in the anime, but I will admit I thought it was a touch underwhelming to have a very small beam effect, given that there have been kits in the past. The 00 Riser is probably the best one that comes to mind, that they weren't super large bits, but did have some large effect pieces. Anyway, rest of the instructions will go through how to switch the Aegis Knight into its high-speed cruising mode, as well as how to convert it into its assault combat mode. I do like how it actually has a whole heap of effect pieces included, and we will go through that runner. And then lastly, there's also this core fighter mode, which does make sense, especially once the Re-Rising Gundam comes into play. So that was the manual. It's not a short manual, there's a lot to unpack in there. Now, I will quickly go through it because it was included. The instructions for the Re-Rising Gundam are included, so if you do get all 4 of the required kits, so the Uraven, the Woden Pod, the Volcalander, as well as the Aegis Knight, you can make the Re-Rising Gundam. So it does have a bit of a blurb about the Re-Rising Gundam. Instead of line art, it is a back and front of the combined kit itself, and some of the weapons that it has. The manual's not very long-winded, so you will start with the Aegis Knight, which is conveniently this product. Take the Core Gundam 2 from the Uraven and prep that up. The Woden Pod and the Volcalander, and then it's effectively just a giant parts former, really. And then what you're doing is putting everything together. Yeah, it's actually not too bad. It's actually nice that this is actually included. You would think for a combined mode like that, they would just let you try to guess everything. So it's definitely there. As I mentioned earlier, I do have the actual hyper mode version of this. So of course I'll probably get this in that, as well as the other instructions for the individual kits. So I'll probably I'll revisit that there and then. But one of these days I wouldn't mind actually having one of the standard colors, but time will tell. Anyway, back to the Aegis Knight, because yes, there is a lot to unpack. Small sticker sheet, so eyes, camera lenses, some basic color correcting. I do appreciate it when these sticker sheets are on the relatively small side. Always a good thing. Now, for the number of runners, there's a lot. Starting with the multicolored A runner. So we have red, that for gold look, the green, and a translucent green piece there. The only multicolor runner that we'll see. But yes, not a significant major structural runner. But yeah, it's still nice that some of those colors are included. And actually, I will say the gold does seem to be getting better over the years. So that was the A runner. In terms of the B runner, we have 2, B1 and B2. B2 is a copy of a good half of B1. Both of these are in that graphite / black, so a lot of this will be your joints, hands, and things like that. I almost feel like I've seen this before. So B1 and B2. Moving onwards to C1 and C2, which goes into that purpley grey. C2 is a copy of C1. So with that, we will get, actually I can keep it this way, we'll get things for the arms, the legs, torso. Well, the bits that aren't replicated will be the backpack, the torso, and things like that. Some very nice detailing in there. Also reminds me of bits and pieces of the, I'm going to say the Arios, and I suddenly can't remember the other one. Not the successor to Arios, the one that Pires pilots. Anyway, it's not the point of this video. C1, C2 in that purple grey, which is a very nice looking purple grey, I will say. A D2 runner in white, which isn't too bad, very small one. We have E1 and E2, both in white. E2 is a copy of parts of E1. So if I take that away, what do we have? Head, torso, skirting, legs, arms. So your usual external armor parts. The skirting does look very nice. That'll be some nice detailing to do up. So that was E1 and E2. We then have F1 and F2. Feels more like it is a black. F2 is a functional copy of a good chunk of F1. So probably more joints and things like that. Some bigger hands as well, which I believe will be ankles. That bit will never get old. So those were the two F runners. We have a G1 and G2. Don't know why it's G1 and G2 because it's actually very difficult to tell where the breakdown would be. This is in a bit of a silver, I believe. So we'll have the weapons, the shield, and I'm not too sure. I want to say it's more for the re-rising and not so much the Aegis. But there's the G1, G2. We have a clear base 0. So it's always nice when these are included. So we have one of those. And lastly, we have J3, which is, well, J2 and J3. A whole heap of effect parts, all in a translucent yellow. Very cool that this is included. So they do get used in various modes of the Aegis Knight. But yeah, it is very nice that they're included. It is unfortunate that they couldn't have had a single large one for the King mode. So that brings us to the end of the unboxing of the Gundam Aegis Knight. A little bit longer than I was expecting. I think the manual for the re-rising Gundam did actually throw me out a little bit. I wasn't expecting to see that. Not in this anyway. So it's definitely cool that there was something made for that in terms of putting the re-rising Gundam together. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'll have links to the Aegis Knight and other re-rise and build diver kits in the description below over at HobbyLink Japan. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. All of this does help support the channel and I do greatly appreciate it. Extra content can also be found on my Instagram account, link below. Stay safe and take care, and I will catch you all in the next video. See ya.